Hey guys, welcome to a new episode. This time, actually we're going to have to take a couple steps back because if you remember from the last episode, we had those noises in the differential and we had the braking issue. So I'm going to have to tackle those, unfortunately, but we got to make things right because I don't want to, drive around a messed up car, especially after all the work that I've done on it. So we're going to open up the rear diff. What else? Oh, the rear brakes. I remember the rear brakes, how they were getting hot on me, and I could kind of feel them binding up on me. So I'm going to tackle that as well. So hopefully we'll get that situated. I have an adjustable proportioning valve for the rear side only. So let me, I'll take you through that as well. Oh yes, and before we get started though, I want to show you what's coming up because, well, I'm excited about it and hopefully you guys will be too. So let me take you over here. My poor game room. Alrighty, here it is. We have this ground effects kit. Yes, no, I did not go OEM. I would have liked to, but it's way out of my price range. But what I really like though for the aftermarket is I like this one right here. It's a J-Blood replica, if you will. But yeah, I'm looking forward to all this work I got to do. And if everything goes smooth, we're going to do a test drive and cross your fingers, okay? So wish me luck and enjoy. Well, so you're probably asking, what am I doing? Well, turns out that after doing some more research, you're not supposed to use, well, it's best to use a ring gear and pinion gear from the same car. If you're going to use used ones, or new ones, they make them in pairs, so they're actually made for each other, and you're not really supposed to mix and match them. So what I've done is, this is off of a 99 or 98 Camaro. This ring gear, and the pinion gear was off of a Chevy Blazer. I believe it was a 99. So that was my one mistake there. So what I'm going to have to do is I went ahead and just ordered some new ones. So what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and remove the carrier and pinion. That way I can get it ready for the new set that's coming in. Now I guess I'm gonna have to remove this bar or at least unbolt it from here in order so I can get the carrier out of the housing, and that requires, I believe, a 17 millimeters. So yeah, it's just it's like a never-ending deal here, Now I gotta wait a good part of the week for my parts to come in. So it's one thing after another, but that's why we do this, because we love it. Hopefully this will be my last time, though. Who knows? I say that all the time too. Put this stuff back on so I don't lose it. Then I'll have to get new fluid, new diff fluid, and that LSD additive. And it's stuff not cheap. Here's the dreaded bolt that you got to remove in order to get this pin out so you can remove the axles. And that bolt gives so many problems. I mean, sometimes it'll break in there. Sometimes it's hard to get out because you can't get a socket on there because of this bearing cap right here. So see, I'll show you real quick. Right there, see, you can't get it on there. When you say, well, you can use a wrench like this. Well, yeah, but it's some obscure size. I'm not really sure. It's not quite an 8mm. I don't know what size that is, but people end up thinking it's an 8, and they'll try to turn it with this, like this 16-point wrench like that, and it'll just strip it to shreds, and then you're really screwed. So it's best to use on that a 6-point socket like this. So I'm going to take this bearing cap off, and hopefully I'll be able to get to it like that. Oh, that's nice. See, this is the trap right here. You think you can, oh, maybe I'll try to just snap it loose and then it'll end up breaking on you. I stuck a rag in the gear teeth in order to keep them from moving while I try to undo this. I've got an extension and a bend there to help me. Hopefully I'll be able to, hopefully it'll crack. There it goes. And now I'm just hoping that it's not broken in there. I hate to sound like Dr. Doom all the time, but it has happened to me one time, so, and it's not fun getting that out. So it can really turn this job into well, much harder than it needs to be. It's just not a very good design, but what do I know? I'm not an engineer, so. Alright, let's see. Put that up. Now, see if I can remove this towel. Spin this down. This pin should slide out. There it goes. Just like that. Now, move this down so you can see inside are the axles. There's the axle right here, the end of it, and then there's one kind of back here hiding a little bit. Let's see. Right there. And they're held in with these C-clips. So with that pin, the big solid pin that I just removed, with that removed, you can now push the axles inwards, and that C-clip will come out on each side. So I'm going to do that now. Alright, and then reaching, I'm just going to reach towards the axle, the outside of the axle right here, and push in, and you'll see it come in right here. And the C-clip, hopefully you can see that as well. I'll put my magnet up here and catch that C-clip as it comes out. There we go. Worthless magnet. Now with that C-clip out, the axle will just pull right out. Let me show you. And there you have it. 1/28 spline rear axle. Alright, with both the axles removed, I'll take off this bearing cap here, and the carrier will should just fall right out pretty much. Might take a little bit of convincing with a screwdriver, a big screwdriver, or pry bar, but alright, let's see if this puppy will come out. You got shims on these on either side, so shit. You'll want to try to keep them in order here, or keep them from swapping sides on you. Oh shit, I lost them. I think that was from, yeah, I lost a couple there. And here's the stuff. I set the race on the left here, and this side right here, this is the up. You know, I got it all positioned how I need it to be when I put it back in. Alright, now we got to remove the drive shaft so we get to that pinion nut. Same thing here, you want to keep everything in relation to how it was. So like these caps that I'm about to lose here on the end of my wrench there, you want to make sure that it goes in the same orientation as when you took it off. Okay, so now you're wondering, well, I got this loose, but how do you get it separated from the yoke here? Because you're still in the transmission on the other side of the drive shaft. Well, there's a little bit of play on this side in that slip yoke on the drive shaft, so you can push this forward and disengage it from the pinion yoke right here. Alright, so let me try to do that while holding the camera right there. Alright, and then we'll just let it sit to the side. Here's our pinion yoke, and in the middle there's our pinion nut. We're gonna have to try to take that off. I'm gonna use my trusty impact, and hopefully it'll come off. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I got a new ring gear in today, right here. I've got it kind of bolted in there, but I don't have it torqued down. And probably some of you, and me included, were wondering how can we torque these bolts up here on the top without it being in the car. And it's kind of awkward because how do you hold it in order to get any type of leverage? So you can use a torque wrench because it's 65 foot-pounds of torque. So and they're also, well, it doesn't matter, but just a FYI, they're also reverse thread. So in case anyone's doing that on this is a GM rear end 7.65. But what I've done is I've mounted it to the wheel, just the hub, or just the axle, and I have the pin set in place. You can see that way down there, and it's resting. And I have the pin bolted in as well, right here. I don't have this all the way in because it just needs to hold it in place for a minute while I torque these down. And with it being on the wheel here, it gives me enough leverage to torque the bolts down. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. And you don't have to do this. Well, you have to torque them down, but what I'm saying is, like, you don't have to go in steps. What I'm going to do is I'm going to torque in a star pattern, crisscross pattern, I'm going to torque them down to 40 first, and then I'm going to go back and do 65 again. So 40 and then 65. Do it in steps like that. That way it's gradual on the whole wheel here. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Okay, now that's torqued down to 40. I'm going to go all the way around, and I'm going to set this, crank it up to 65. Since this is a new gear set here, I just have to kind of start from scratch, and we'll go from there and see, measure the backlash and see if there's any adjustment that needs to be made. Hopefully it will be within spec and won't have to put any more shims in. Alright, I got it all tight, the two cap bolts here, and this thing is like it's like so tight, it's not even moving. So I got to it's got way too much, too little backlash. So that means like the gears are just like right on each other. There's no play in there. So I gotta take it out, and we gotta move the carrier to the left, the driver's side, ever so slightly, to create some of that space in there. Alright, now I got it in here, and let you see some of how the play looks like and what it sounds like. That's just a very little bit, but I think it's going to be too much. Feels like feels like it might be too much, but I'm going to take a measurement anyway. So I'm going to set up my my micrometer here. All right, guys, check this out. I pretty much got the gauge zeroed out. It's a little bit in the negative, but that's okay. I got my dial up here, the rod, and look at how much movement I have here. There's not a whole lot. It's hard to tell, you know, but look at that. Over 40, probably about 45 right there. We need to get, there's a lot bad lighting there. It needs to be between 6 and 10. I'm leaning more towards the 6 side because these are new gears. And what it was before, it was like at 11. So I want to get it a little bit tighter than than what it was. But this is, let's see that little bit of play right there. Way too much. So let's try it again. Dial indicator set up here, right on the gear tooth, and we're feel the play in it. You can see it goes from 1 to 7, so that's about 6 thousandths of an inch of backlash. 6 thousandths of an inch. Really, you can just feel it. You might be able to hear that, but it's just barely moving. Man, I'm just glad that's over with. I had to mix and match so many shims just to get that right. So tomorrow I am going to put everything back together, put the fluid in, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to install a brake proportioning valve just for the rear side. This is by Speedway Motors. They make a lot of stuff for race and street applications. But what I plan to do is mount it right here. This is the rear side. Comes up, loops around. I got it disconnected right there. But and I'm going to mount it right here. I have a 90-degree adapter, and I have a straight adapter right here, and I'm going to mount it right where it bends down here. I put it here because it's easy to get to, you know, instead of being underneath the car somewhere. Also, this was really the only straightest line that I could find, this part right here, from there to there. All the other parts aren't really long enough to get this in there, and the 2 adapters are needed because there's a 1/8 NPT female right here, so you need a 1/8 NPT male that goes to a 3/8 24 thread adapter on both sides. This one has a 90-degree, obviously, as I told you already. Oh yeah, the factory brake proportioning valve is underneath this towel. I have a towel there because I don't want brake fluid getting all over the place. And I have this blocked off right here. This little contraption that I assembled. It's doing a good job so far. So the brake proportion, the factory brake proportioning valve that's installed, it has a front and a rear side, and on the rear side I gutted it out. I took it out. I took the bolt off that's off on the bottom. I removed the valve and the spring. So basically, it's just a pass through. There's nothing you know, holding it back. So it won't affect this. So let's see what we can do here. All right, and now in order to do this job, let me show you real quick. Here's the brake line off the car, and then this, it curves around. This is where it attaches to the master cylinder. Comes around and down, and then curves back to the brake proportioning valve, the rear brake proportioning valve. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it right here, and actually I'll cut it. Make sure you cut it right where it's straight, because these won't slide very well if it's not straight. If it has any type of curve on it, it's not going to be able to slide, and you're just going to have to do it over again. So I'm going to have to cut it right here, and then because it's going to sit like this, I'll have to cut it, I guess, right up here as well, and then I'll make a flare right here, and then I'll be able to attach using these fittings here. And now to cut, you'll need a pipe cutter like this, because you want to cut it square. It has to be a square cut, otherwise the flare is not gonna be good. And in order to make the flare, we got right here a flaring tool. You can make a single or double flares with these. You could also do bubble flares, but we don't need to do a bubble flare. We only need to do a double flare. And it's pretty simple. You get these. This is a rent a tool. You can rent that from O'Reilly's or AutoZone for free, and other part stores I'm sure too, like Napa maybe or something. But let's go ahead and get this process started. All right, so let's go ahead and install this fitting here. That way we can kind of see where we need to be as far as cutting this line. All right, so we got the fittings on. All right, so it looks like I'm going to need all this that I can get. So I'm going to just cut it right where it starts to get straight. Let's go ahead and cut this. I hate that I have to cut this line, but really don't have much choice. Let's see. Right there. So just tighten it up a little bit. Shit. Spin it around. All right, there it is. Here's the result. It's pretty straight there. Now, let's see. Guess I can find where I need to cut it up here. It's about right here. Because the line's going to be inside the fitting, so about right here. Doesn't have to be perfect, you know, but just want to get pretty close. Basically, this is just like a cutting wheel right here, and this keeps it square. And as you spin it, it kind of makes a cut, and then you keep tightening this just ever so slightly until it just comes right off. See? Keep tightening, and there it goes. Real easy. $4 from Harbor Freight, I think. Put these on your pipe before you make that flare, because then you want, if you make the flare first, you won't be able to get this on, obviously. But sometimes I've done it before too. I forget. I get all excited about making the flare, and I forget to put this fitting on. Now you want to find the correct size brake line. Most of the time it's going to be 3/16. You put with just a little hair, just up to the top of the bevel. Okay, so I got this protruding just a little bit like this. We're going to set our adapter in. Pretty simple. And basically we want to crush this until the bottom part of that adapter is flat against this vise. Basically it won't go any further. So set our vise in like this. Alright, just make sure that you have these legs are on the underside of that vise. And we're going to start crushing it down. Okay, now see how it's all the way flat now against the vise? That's what we want. God. Whew. Okay, so that's our first part. You can see it. Should look something like that. Minus the blue paint. And now what we're going to do is take the adapter out. I've already taken it out. And then we're going to just put this piece in there like that. And tighten it down again. And then just tighten it down as far as you can get it. It'd be nice if they put a handle on this thing, you know, or something. Set it down. Now we're taking it off. Let's see what we got. It looked like that. Okay. Go ahead and remove it. Okay, and there we go. It's pretty good. And then when this adapter, or this fitting, you know, just come up like that. Alright, pretty easy. Alright, so here's the other end here. Looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and now we got our fitting here, just screws on like that. Alright, looks like this little device worked pretty well. Go ahead and take it out. Set it off to the side. Brake fluid is extremely corrosive, so you don't want this stuff getting on your paint at all. And if it does, Make sure you wipe it off immediately. Alright, here we are. Alright, and there we have it. One brake proportioning valve installed. I'll just have to go back, make sure I tightened all the new fasteners down good enough, and top off the brake fluid, and then we'll have to bleed the brakes. Fun. Alright, man, now this is I got the car all set up. I got after the rear brake proportioning valve was installed, also the new rear end, the rear end is redone. So This is my first drive out. I went around the block already a little bit, and it's a lot better, night and day difference. The brakes aren't locking up, aren't gripping. See, I'll stop on this hill, put the brakes down, and then release, and then the car just rolls nice and easy. So the brakes are not binding up on me. It sounds a lot better. So let me let you take a listen. Of course, we got this loud ass truck right next to us, but a minute. I don't know, that's just probably normal sound. From what it was before, you could barely hear yourself think. So I'm gonna get a little bit faster up here. The speed limit increases, so we'll try that. But I'm pretty happy right now. Though these shocks my shocks in the front are so blown, the car feels so unsafe. You can kind of feel it just like that. I mean, it feels like if I turn it just a little bit too hard, I'm going to lose control of the car because they're so blown. So I really need to do that suspension upgrade, which is my next step anyways. So that's good. But man, you just heard I got it up to 60. And actually there was no noise at all, just a little bit. I think that's probably just the rear end turning, and I got the windows down too, so that's probably what that was. But man, I'm extremely happy right now because you put in all that time and effort, and I was kind of bummed out for a little while, I'll be honest with you, but all that hard work was rewarded. Thank goodness. I hate it when you work so hard and find out you got to do it all over again. You know, it can put a damper in your day for sure. But when you're working on cars, that's going to happen, and you just gotta do it again and do it right, and it'll feel that much better whenever you finish. So, and the brakes were another big thing. That was huge for me. I almost thought about just scrapping this rear end and going a different route because I was so bummed out, but I'm glad that everything was turning out okay. So let's go down this road again. And I got my lucky shirt, my lucky Katsuhiro. That's probably what it was. Alright guys, and just like that, this episode is finished. As you can see, I called this episode Redemption because the previous episode, if you remember, the test drive didn't turn out perfectly. So I wanted to kind of redeem myself, and thankfully everything is worked out for the better this time. I got it to about 65 miles per hour, and there was no whining. So I'm extremely happy about that. I mean, man, just working on it. I was working on it for this whole week, really, between work and life. So to finally get it done, the differential. Man, it feels so good. Also, another big thing was the rear brakes. That was driving me crazy. You're able to fix that. We got the adjustable proportioning valve on there. Well, in that whole job, I ended up getting another tool, the press. It's a 12-ton press, just to do bearings and things like that, and ball joints I can do. But you know, I guess it was. At first I didn't want to get one. I thought maybe it'd take up too much space in the garage, but it's actually not too bad. It just sits right up on the wall, you know. A little Harbor Freight special there. But hey, you know, whatever works, right? So, let's talk about next episode. You guys have been patient with me. I appreciate it. It's been about 3 weeks since my last video, and so we got some good things coming up. Well, I always say that, but this episode was kind of unexpected for you because I had to go back and do some more work that I had already done, and so it was maybe kind of boring for you guys. But I wanted to show everything because this isn't just like a DIY, you know, how to do things. This is like a adventure. Think of it as like an adventure of me restoring this car. So, you know, we're going to have our ups and downs and setbacks, and we're going to have our victories as well. Like today was a victory. Let me go ahead and show you what we're going to be doing next episode. Okay, and right here you can see we got all of our suspension parts. We got AGX shocks. These are shorter shocks than the factory shocks, so I'm going to have to shorten the factory tubes in order to accommodate these shorter shocks. I guess that's about it, man. But next episode we're going to be doing this, and it's going to be a blast. So make sure you subscribe, give me a thumbs up if you like this episode. As always, I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you in just a few.